What is up, everybody? What's going on, everyone? It's Kevin Kelm from the NBC Tower in downtown Chicago. That is Robert DeFelice in Tampa, Florida for WrestleZone.com. This is WrestleZone Daily. What's up, everyone? Faithful viewers, new time listeners, no matter where you're getting the show, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on the tubes of you, whether it's on the casts of pod, all right? It doesn't matter where you get it. You're listening, you're watching. Support the show, share the link, or you're the one who stinks. We're on the most interactive pro wrestling talk show on a Thursday. And we're going to get into all of the news coming out of AEW, WWE NXT. If you can check out our post show that is up now, if you want to check that out. And obviously, we'll touch on a lot of that different stuff today. We'll be heavy on the questions, heavy on the interaction today, as we always are on a Thursday. And of course, Robert DeFelice with me once again. Robert DeFelice, follow him at Dude Felice. Robert, how are you today?
I'm pretty good, Kevin. You know, I think it's a Thursday. We survived a wonderful night of chaotic wrestling last night. Cody jumping off of cages. Velveteen Dream wearing nighttime jammies. I mean, what is happening in wrestling, Kevin?
Oh, so much going on, and we'll touch on all of it. Once again, first-time viewers, I know we have a lot of familiar faces that you guys always see here if you watch the show. I always love seeing them pop up here on screen. But if you're with us for the first time, jump on screen. Get your comments here on screen. You're a part of the show. This isn't a two-man operation. This is a two-man and a collective operation. You're a part of it. Coming up on today's show, breaking news about what former WWE champion was backstage last night at AEW. What current Raw superstar suffered a very, very sad injury outside of a match. We'll talk about that and so much more in today's show. And once again, lean into your questions as we do a very, very extra interactive episode of the show. So let's talk about last night's AEW and WWE NXT. I know you were covering results for WrestleZone.com. This was a wild show in Atlanta for All Elite Wrestling, and this cage match was something special. I know All Elite Wrestling has had a lot of great matches on TV since they debuted on TNT in October. They've had some big pay-per-views since then. We're just a few weeks away from the AEW Revolution pay-per-view in Chicago. I will be in attendance. But this cage match felt very, very special. A lot of emotions hanging over this one. Cody needed to get through this to get the match with MJF. A lot of wrestling magic on this. A lot of Southern wrestling magic twinkled all over this. And an emotional, bloody Cody Rhodes in his hometown. What did you think?
Thought Dynamite last night was fantastic. I think when Cody is on, he's one of the best in the world. He's the best at a very specific style of pro wrestling. Like that Atlanta really down and dirty wrestling for TV. Cody is one of the best in the world at wrestling for TV. Maybe even better than a lot that are on the main roster of WWE. And last night against Wardlow, he really got to have some fun. He bled. He dived off of cages. He did wrestling as you remember it. And I think that was special for him.
It was pacing. I think he's very much a character that doesn't have to overdo anything in the ring, and takes a lot of punishment. You know, this is a guy who's bleeding. He's suffering injuries in matches. He's doing a lot in the few matches we get to see him have. That's another thing worth noting. We don't see a lot of him in actual matches on TV. He comes out, he takes in the crowd. Emotionally, people love him because they love the idea that he's a guy that turned on WWE and forged his own path and carries on his family's legacy. He's literally over because of the risks he took for the fans. That's why he's over right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that isn't like a backside at anything. That's a great reason to root for him. And the fact that they've even gone to strengths of saying like, yeah, obviously, I'm the president of the company. I'm going to put myself in these main event matches, but I'm not going to make myself the champion. And so there's these caveats that they've put there that make you kind of respect the choices they made. Like the long game. We hear that with NXT, that they're playing the long game in this thing with AEW. I think Cody's playing the long game here too. But still trying to give you these big moments all along the way. I'm a lot of emotional investment in him. Even the promotional copy on TNT to promote this that they ran on AEW Dark, they mentioned Cody in his hometown, the hometown hero, Cody. They pushed that. They pushed that as the narrative here. And you really, really felt that with the crowd in Atlanta. Also, kudos to Wardlow. This is the first time he's ever had a televised wrestling match.
Yeah.
Kudos to that guy. Talk about the pressure he's on. This isn't a normal match. This is a cage match. I mean, what is that guy thinking when he has to take that moonsault and catch, And this is the first time that a lot of fans, millions of fans, will ever see him in the ring. I mean,
he's thinking, I got to make myself $1 million.
Yeah. A lot of pressure on him there. Let's see what the fans are thinking and what they're talking about here. And Terrell Diggs, did AEW beat NXT in the ratings? What are the ratings? We usually get the ratings on a Thursday afternoon. Robert, you got them in front of you, don't you?
Well, the ratings, Kevin, ratings are typically a little earlier in the week, but because of President's Day, both the NXT and AEW ratings as well as the backstage ratings came out today. And AEW gets 893,000, NXT with only 794,000. So still pretty close, 100,000 people separating them there. And
that's a very close margin.
I would say so, especially for what they're working with.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say, oh, AEW did it. But here's the thing. This is the highest rating that NXT has had this year so far, 2 months into the year. This is trending up. So this is up from last week. So they did have a little bit of a bump from the previous week. They went from 757,000 to 794,000. These are skewable numbers. Once again, these are overnight numbers. These don't include DVR, by the way, too. No reflection on what people watch on the WWE Network as well. So I always want to know what that WWE Network number is. But
I don't know if it's as strong as it used to be. I think a lot of the focus is on AEW NXT on TV. And if they are watching on the network or in some other form, then it might be through a way that is not advisable, shall we say.
But another great week for AEW, 893,000. That's really strong. That's up from last week's 817. Yes. So that meant they retained going into that main event. And up, also, both shows had some strong competition. You had another Democratic debate. This is the first one with Mike Bloomberg in it. Yeah. You also had Real Housewives in New Jersey. College basketball is heating up. We're getting close to March Madness. So, a lot of people say, oh, this isn't like Raw or SmackDown. SmackDown's still the most viewed wrestling television show every single week and has been for months now since it moved to Fox. But these are good numbers for both shows. Also, I think NXT has shown some really strong growth here. But AEW, it's still fresh. And I think the number one thing that AEW has right now is it's big-time wrestling that isn't WWE.
Yeah, and that's going to carry them for quite some time. People want that alternative. They're still digging that alternative. AEW still feels fresh. It still feels new. And they are going to continue this momentum into the rest of the year.
Robert, you want to field this question from Ken Gottlieb texting in right now.
Do we feel that AEW defeating NXT in the ratings is worrying Vince McMahon? No.
Vinnie Mac. Who is this Vinnie Mac? Vinnie Mac sounds like a guy who owns like a cheeseburger place.
Vinnie Mac, he owns Mazzola's Pizza down on the corner.
You want to go get a pizza puff? Go over to Vinnie Mac's.
We're gonna go to Vinnie Mac's. It's Mazzola's. It's gonna be great. We're gonna get a Sicilian. It's gonna be a nice square.
Get yourself a nice Italian pizza at Vinnie Mac's.
But listen, no, it's not worrying Vince McMahon, Ken. No. I don't think anything worries Vince McMahon except what Vince McMahon is going to do that day.
I know for a lot of fans as we watch the ratings, and this is something that's kind of settled into me now. We used to make a bigger deal about the ratings, you and I, and what they were. And I think those ratings the first week out were impressive for AEW when they went head-to-head. The ratings for NXT, the first night that they were on, about a month prior to AEW debuting on TNT and before they went head-to-head. I think, especially for shows that aren't doing like 3-4 million each in terms of just an overnight number, I don't understand it. And it's something that was very interesting to me. I heard Jonathan Hood, he works for ESPN locally, ESPN radio locally. He appeared on Busted Open. Does film work for him? And I mentioned them quite a bit. I listen to their show. I think it's a great show. If you're a SiriusXM listener, you should listen to it. He mentioned that you don't see sports fans caring about ratings. They really only care about the playoff ratings. And this week to week, there's this dig into the numbers, and I really only think hardcore, all elite. I only want all elite to win, but I'll still watch WrestleMania. I only want all elite to win, but I'll still follow the Royal Rumble. I only want all elite to win over NXT, but I'll check out TakeOver. Like the people that want to be internet overzealous is for lack of a better phrase. These are the numbers that really care to them. I do think Vince McMahon cares. I do think Vince McMahon cares about what's going on with WWE NXT. It is the future of the company. They've produced all of the big stars the last 8-9 years from there. And this isn't a short-term project. This isn't FCW. This isn't Ohio Valley Wrestling. This is WWE's creation. And whether or not you want to believe that is the truth. And I know people love to have this cultural separation and say that NXT is better than Raw or SmackDown. If it's better than Raw or SmackDown, you don't watch Raw or SmackDown. It's fine. But what else? It's this in spite of thing that really I just don't understand it. Why fans have to feel if something is successful in spite of something else. That's so short term. I'm so over it. I'm done with it.
Yeah, that is a cultural thing.
It's a troll thing. It's a troll thing.
It's a cultural thing that is magnified within the wrestling community because it's got to be death all the time, Kev. It's got to be, we want a war. We want your head on a stick. The Revival need to sign AEW contracts, says Logan Blade. It's got to be competition and bloodthirsty, and you got to grab your opponent by the throat. And you got to squeeze the life out of him. It's that. I don't know, man.
Scott George saying NXT was disappointing last night. I got to watch NXT. I've seen about, I want to say, a good chunk of AEW. And I watched all of NXT live as I covered it for the post show last night. I was surprised how many new, less exposed faces in the NXT roster were featured on television last night. I do think there's some interesting things. I didn't find it disappointing, but I was surprised there wasn't a ride of the momentum that they had coming out of TakeOver. I did feel like this was, I wouldn't say disappointing, slightly under my expectation. I thought this week's NXT was. But
I disagree.
I think if you haven't seen it, you need to go see this Leo Rush, Jordan Devlin match. I think Devlin is a guy that has so much stock on the rise. If you're one of those fans that loves to say, I was with this person when they were coming up, you should get on the Jordan Devlin train now.
Let me tell you, Kev, I do cover AEW for WrestleZone.com, but I also have a second cell phone. So I've got one screen watching AEW and the other one was firmly looking at that Jordan Devlin Leo Rush match, and it was a thing of beauty.
It was, and it was a very, very impactful match. If you enjoy just like hard-hitting New Japan light heavyweight matches, this is something to see. I'm interested to see why we didn't have Johnny Gargano on this television show since he was involved so much in TakeOver and the ending of it. But we got Tommaso.
You gotta milk things. Listen, the truth is, I think they had a lesser quality show because they had the rare exception where they were the only show on Sunday. They didn't have to be the lead-in for a pay-per-view. And I think they knew, hey, listen, we're up against a Dynamite that is going to be loaded. We'll hit them hard in 2 weeks when they're coming out of Revolution, and they think they can coast because they just finished a big show. We'll hit them hard in 2 weeks.
McCarran Davis saying both shows rocked. He enjoyed both. I enjoyed both of what I saw at both shows, but I do feel this is one of those weeks where I don't feel it every week. But I saw a lot of people, especially because Cody got such a big reaction as the Atlanta guy, and Darby Allin had that big run-in to save people during the Inner Circle beatdown that they've been doing recently in past few weeks. Big reactions. They got some arena reactions. People then say, well, why isn't NXT then head-to-head the comparison? Why aren't they on the road with bigger crowds? I haven't been thinking that for a while. That was something with the head-to-head comparison with NXT and AEW that people were saying right away. But once NXT had these banger matches and that Full Sail crowd came unglued, and I do think they were loud last night. Sometimes there's a particular reaction you think of and you make the comparison. But last night I could see that. I just don't think like I said, it's a long game thing. NXT, Triple H is going on record. They're going for the long game here.
We can't say this ad nauseum every Thursday for now until the end of time, that it's going to be the long game and that these are the ratings this week. I think people need to settle down. It's not the end of the world because NXT didn't rush into doing shows in Topeka, Kansas and whatever, Utah. I'm sorry, Utah. I don't know any of the cities in you, but
Salt Lake City.
So thank you. God, I'm an idiot. Salt Lake City, I don't think that it's the end of the world. They have a great partnership with Full Sail. They have a great relationship with the state of Florida. NXT's home here. WWE earned the right to build a home base. They never had that before. They never had a performance center.
And that was never held against them until they got compared to AEW.
Right. And why does it need to be a direct blood for blood, eye for an eye competition? I don't get it.
We want people to lose their jobs. like that's what people want here.
How crazy is that, Kevin? You have strangers on the internet going, I hate you, not because I don't like you or even your body of work. I hate that you've chosen to work for this company. And I want you to lose your job because I want your company and the millions of employees to go out of business and be without work because I am SmartMark69 on Twitter and damn it, I am right. Like that, it's such a weird thing that only exists in wrestling. Game of Thrones, they don't have to do another show after their season finale the next week. They get to breathe. Mm-hmm. Wrestling doesn't get afforded that opportunity. Wrestling is its own animal, and if people would just accept that, maybe they would enjoy a little bit more of what they see.
Mm-hmm. Tommy Bean saying ECW did have big crowds, but still remains a great brand. I think
it did not have great crowds. Okay. Well, listen. ECW also stood for Extreme, and it's not 1993 or 2001. And we have seen independence rise like that. GCW has got this rabid cult-like vibe.
Yeah, they do.
And it's a fun show. Freelance in Chicago's got the same thing. We've got Fest Wrestling over here, Nerd Street Wrestling. Wrestling is now for the nerds. It's a really niche content. That's what people forget. They're like, where are the casuals? Where are the ratings? Where are the Attitude Era ratings? Wrestling is a niche.
That's SmackDown and Raw. That's what those shows are for. And that's why I think when fans look, I keep bringing this example up. Why you see so many guys, 20-something to 40-something, so mad when we ran that story about the Bella Twins likely getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. That hasn't been confirmed by the company just yet. But they were so mad about it. And I really think, and this is something I bring up to you all the time, that wrestling is not just for you, the guy who's been watching it your whole life. It isn't. It just isn't. It wouldn't grow. It wouldn't develop. And it's something I see all the time when you see these kind of really regressive, probably hateful comments online about Nyla Rose, transgender woman becoming the women's champion in AEW. And there's just this knee-jerk reaction for people to go off and have some stance that they really don't have any knowledge to get behind.
And I would bet you that they don't even have that stance per se. It's just them going, I want to be Family Guy, and isn't it fun? Lois.
There's a way. I say this as a comic. There's a way to make that joke and still not just be dumb. You know what I mean? There's still a way to be satirical and graceful about it, but it's a fine line, and you have to know how to walk that line.
They're not even trying to walk it. They're just going, oh, I'm mad about this thing that really doesn't concern me or my life or the way I function. I'm just mad that I know it exists. Like, really think about that. This concerns me not one iota, but I am mad that I know that this is a thing. It's like, what is that?
It's also tribalism. Robert Ray texting in. Thank you, Robert Ray. A lot of great texts from him all the time on the show. It's tribalism. AEW really did that, and NXT did it too. We are NXT. I'm with AEW. They are marketed and pitched as niche brands. I think AEW is definitely pitched as, if you just don't like WWE, watch us, right? And some people have received that signal and gotten behind it and waved that flag. And you see those same fans online enjoy it. I also have had many people who don't watch wrestling say, I've been checking out this AEW show and I like it. My cousin, who was a big WCW guy, and then once WCW went away, he would just be like, I'll watch WrestleMania every year, and that's about it, right? He texted me maybe the second or third week AEW was on. He's like, this is awesome. Why didn't you tell me about this? I know you cover this. So there's that crowd, but there's tribalism is a big thing for it. I completely agree with that, and both shows have it. So I love.
Can you throw this comment up on the screen from McCarran Davis? Because I saw a friend of mine, not the Austin Aries comment, the Big Swole comment.
Oh, okay, all right, here we go.
All right, so there was a confrontation. Nyla Rose came out, cut a great promo, said I should have been the first champion. I should have been making all the money.
And nobody is a beast. Wrestling, correct?
Yes, this is on Dynamite.
Just so you're following. Okay, cool.
Nobody is a beast like me. I'm the best. Who's going to challenge me? Chris Statlander's out. She does the boop thing, and then she touches the title. And then Big Swole comes out, and she's like, oh, so you're the Queen Bee. You're the head BITCH. She's like, let's go, brother. And I saw a friend of mine be like, well, this is regressive. And I'm like, no, it's wrestling. And the word brother just flies out of everybody's mouth.
Yeah, brother is a wrestling term.
Yeah.
I can see where people stepping in don't know that, you know?
Yeah, but the person that the people that make these comments, like McCarran Davis, he's been in our show before. You know that it's not a derogatory term. And I think the fact that you have to look at everything involved with Nyla Rose with such minutia and under a microscope is kind of the reason why people like Nyla are afraid to come out in the first place. Like, they don't want to have that constant stigma and judgment. And I think sometimes we do more harm than good by trying to overprotect and overhelp. Let Nyla live. She's one of the best in the company right now. Let her do her thing.
Tommy B texting in. So who was backstage at AEW? If you're joining us live, this is something we did tease.
I'd imagine the coffee guy, the guys working the key grips, you know, like
maybe the mayor of Atlanta. Maybe the mayor.
Mikey Ruckus, the music guy, might have been backstage.
Actually, it was Austin Aries. Aries was in the Atlanta area. He was visiting DDP at his yoga facility. DDP was also present. Obviously, DDP, pretty much a documented history of enjoying everything All Elite Wrestling. He was featured at All In. He has had a recent match in his 60s.
His daughter works there.
His daughter works there. So plenty of stuff here. Austin Aries backstage at AEW. Now, we don't know what his role could be. It's not the only.
Well, hold on. If you go up on the website right now, WrestleZone.com, there's a new report from our friends at Bodyslam.com that reveals DDP and Austin Aries were backstage in Atlanta to try to get AEW to buy into a new stem cell treatment venture that they are going into. Now, stem cell treatment is something that pro wrestlers have really been looking into. You know, the wear and tear on these guys' bodies, it's no joke. You get concussions, you get knees, hips, all that. Ryback's been very open. Kevin Nash just had a procedure. I imagine, you know, DDP's probably had some with his DDPY stuff. He's very conscious of the damage done to his body. So it's more of a business venture, and I'm excited to see where that goes, if anywhere.
And it's interesting. Austin Aries is a pretty advantageous guy. He's also kind of I would say, not newer, but more alternative medicine take. Is a guy who's a vegan. He's been pretty open about that.
Yeah.
And it certainly, this is an interesting thing. Stem cells a couple of years ago, especially in all of sports, were seen as almost like a performance enhancing procedure, and people not taking them seriously. But now you see so many people in sports getting this treatment and raving about it and saying how much it helped them. Also, you mentioned some wrestlers that have already had those treatments. Kevin Nash, I think, is one of the bigger examples. This is a guy who had so many different knee injuries. His legs were almost deformed,
Right.
And he documented how much that helped them.
And he looks like $1 million now. I memean, Kevin's over in India, I think, doing some work with the Great Khali as we speak.
Yeah. And so you think that's a guy he's not really wrestling that much anymore. Maybe he'll do a power bomb here and there and do some physical things. He's a Hall of Famer. Doesn't really need to do that much.
He's going in the Hall of Fame again this year. NWO.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a great example. That's a guy who's already on the back end. This is just trying to give that guy the quality of life.
Can you imagine if we can, I say we like I'm working there, but if AEW can establish a good body of alternative treatments for younger guys, how that can help, we can
as the next generation
really change the next generation wrestling. Because I mean, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was not a physical guy, was not a bumper, was not a tope suicida kind of guy, and
he was 80s Memphis,
pose. He's racked up from those working punches and just dropping people's butt on his knee. So imagine what the Young Bucks are going to be like in 20-30 years.
A lot of people with different takes about everything last night. It's also worth noting that Austin Aries was not the only name present at All Elite Wrestling that was not on the show. As revealed in a tweet in the crowd, our very own Bill Pritchard caught this when they had the tag team battle royal to open the show. The Dark Order interrupting with a promo. SCU diving over the railing to attack them. Who's just sitting there in his chair? ECW legend Raven, just hanging out, just sitting as people brawl in front of him. Didn't even get up, didn't even flinch at it. I thought that was entertaining. Is he the exalted one?
The exalted one is always watching.
Yeah.
Quote the Raven, Kevin.
We're having a fun show today, digging into all this minutia of AEW NXT stuff. Yeah,
it's nice to be able to take a deeper dive into the world of wrestling when we're not like, oh, and we got this to report and this and this and this.
We'll be doing some things to report. Other stories we're keeping an eye on right now at WrestleZone.com. Sad news for Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was recently injured in ring, appeared once again recently, just past few weeks back on Monday at Raw, after what was believed to be a concussion or an undisclosed head injury during a tag team match in January, back in the ring just a few weeks ago. Apparently, he has been injured during a commercial shoot in which he had to go through a table. Sometimes you see this with wrestlers who are featured in commercials. They'll do some physical wrestling type stuff, and something happened with a table. It didn't break. That's a word we're getting right now at WrestleZone.com. Ryan Satin of Pro Wrestling Sheet, very viable source on this. Sad state of affairs for Samoa Joe.
Yeah, not a good time to get injured. It's never a good time to get injured, but if you're a WWE guy and WrestleMania is looming, it's really not a good time to get injured.
He's only been featured once on WrestleMania, just last year, in a very, very short match against Rey Mysterio.
And a 30-second match against Rey. This poor Samoa Joe.
But mind you, it's just injuries. This guy's he's had numerous injuries since coming up to the main roster on Monday at Raw. Past few years, he's had to deal with a shoulder injury, a wrist injury, other issues, and also this is a guy who's not a young spring chicken. He had over 10 years of professional wrestling before he even got to WWE. So this is a lot. And I really, really root for him because I've seen him be so good. I'd love
to see him work Mania.
Yeah,
even if it's the Andre, even if Joe's got to get thrown into the Andre, I'd rather him win it. I want him to have a moment at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So it's fun to see where that goes as well. More details are coming on Chris Bay, who's been signed to Impact Wrestling. Impact, once again, having a stronger future heading into 2020 with a solidified contract hold over Access Television. We're following that story as well. And how this may have been a steal for them to get this Chris Bay start up here. And Ring of Honor announcing a champion versus champion match set for ROH Bound for Honor. Ring of Honor making many, many moves, signing talent.
Honor?
Excuse me?
Bound by Honor?
They always do the playoff of honor. Bound for Honor, is now what they're going for.
Really?
This is going down in Nashville on February 28th. It will see PCO defend the title against Ring of Honor television champion Dragon Lee. So you're getting title versus title there. That's February 28th at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. Ring of Honor making a lot of big moves. They may have one of the biggest non-WWE shows in the Tampa Bay area the week of WrestleMania. Coming up with Supercard of Honor, that show featuring talent from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the NWA, and of course, Ring of Honor.
I've kind of hit this point where it's like, listen, it's not even WrestleMania anymore. It's like if Comic-Con descended upon E3, it's just obnoxious, the amount of events that are coming to Tampa. But Ring of Honor does have a strong one. They are one of the more bigger brands involved with that weekend. So maybe they have a good turnout.
AEW launched their first official podcast, AEW Unrestricted. It is hosted by referee Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone. People may know him from the podcast world with What Happened When.
You might know him from being the voice of wrestling.
Exactly. But the debut episode dropped today. It features Jon Moxley. I have not been able to hear it, but it looks like... I have
not been able to hear it.
The press release, Tony Khan, president of AEW, is really behind it, saying one of the things that fans love about AEW is its reliability and authenticity of their diverse group of talents. I'm an avid consumer of wrestling podcasts, so Tony Khan, maybe he's listening to the show. Tony, if you're listening to the show, thank you so much.
Yeah, hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony. Like you're listening to us. So this is something for them to get by. Obviously, WWE's gone into this pool as well with their own official podcast with After the Bell, which I think is a good show. Corey Graves does a good job with that. I also enjoy The New Day, Feel the Power.
That is the greatest. I'll go on record right now and say that's the one that's the most entertaining right now. As all the podcasts are coming together, that is entertaining.
But it's been going on for years. I mean, WrestleZone, we've been part of it for years. I was doing this in the mid-2000s. Colt Cabana, I think, is the guy that really...
never mind the Blog Talk Radio stuff. Yeah, as podcasts
are concerned, anything on Blog Talk Radio, the sound quality was awful. It was just like you were listening to a conference call.
Yeah. It really was.
Bad.
But I think Cabana started it almost 10 years ago with the Art of Wrestling. And it took Austin a few years to catch on, but he caught on. It took Jericho a few years. I think he really made it his own because he has all the connections that he has. I think, now we see WWE got into it finally. AEW's got their own. Now it's just a new way of storytelling. And it's a new way to control the narrative. Because say what you want, you can tag it's going to be edgy and compelling and unrestricted. It's a new way to get out truthful stories while you can control the narrative because, hey, now we don't have to rely on the dirt sheets to tell our stories. We're going to tell our stories our way.
Definitely. We're getting set to jump into questions here in just a second on Thursdays as we do an extra deep dive into your questions live on screen. If you're with us, of course, if you're with us on the podcast side, don't be afraid to hit us up at Twitter, at WrestleZone.com. We're on Instagram as well. And of course, you're on Facebook. We're going to start doing just question and answer sessions on there without the podcast. I'll say this, though, too. We did the Fast Food Royal Rumble at the end of January.
Yes.
And we put the shirt up on TeePublic. This shirt is for charity. It is for the Central Fire Authority of Victoria, Australia, as they fight the post-relief efforts for the awful Australian wildfires there. We have the shirt up. It is available until March 3rd. Okay. And you need to get this shirt. You wanted the shirt. We gave you the shirt. We want to see more of you actually get the shirt and give your money to a great cause. It is a pretty funny shirt. It features all your fast food mascots walking down the street, a la those early 90s Royal Rumble posters. And of course, you can watch the Fast Food Royal Rumble. It's available on our Facebook page. Just search Fast Food Royal Yumble with the Y in it. Go get that.
Yes.
I also want to tell you, subscribe to the podcast. We're trying to grow the show. Some of you guys watch the show some days. Some of you guys watch the show other days. Maybe those days you don't watch it, you can listen to it. All right. I have a goal. I'm setting a goal. All right. And when we break the goal, I will tell you the goal and I will be transparent about the goal. All right. I want this show to grow. I don't know why. I just started talking like John F. Kennedy. One day, WrestleZone will go to the moon. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. I want to be the #1 pro wrestling podcast on the moon. Do you hear that, Robert? I want to be #1 on the moon.
I mean, we should work
doable.
on the space travel portion
doable.
of that.
Like, Robert, that is doable.
All right. So what I'm going to need right now, if Tony Khan is listening, maybe another billionaire is listening, Elon Musk, we'd like to take your SpaceX to the moon to do a WrestleZone Daily podcast.
Put us in the Sea of Tranquility. We'll be right where the Apollo 11 landed. We'll do a podcast from the moon. Let's do it. It's doable.
Instead of an American flag, we will take a giant WZ Daily flag and plant it right on the moon, because we're going to be the #1 podcast on the moon. I guess that's a thing now. We're going to do moonsaults on the moon. It's going to be an amazing time to be alive. It's gonna be
forever though. You'll leap and it'll just be like, all right, I'm just gonna stay here for about 5 minutes and then I'll Yes, grow the show. If you have wrestling friends, tell them about what we're doing. The show is WrestleZone Daily. The podcast is WrestleZone Radio. Robert, you and I have talked about this. Maybe we should put that out there. Should we change the name of the show?
I want to change it to WrestleZone Live. You remember to request live? I want to do WrestleZone Live. We take your requests. We take your questions. I think WrestleZone Live. We're mulling that over with boss man Bill Pritchard. But we want to get your take on it because we are an interactive show. And if we don't get your take on it, then we're just not authentic.
Good point here. Want to jump right into questions, buddy?
I do want to jump right into questions.
Get into them. I like this one here from Kevin Durgin. Saw an advertisement for Batista at Super Showdown. Was it a lie? Well, I don't think
it was a lie. It was a lie, Kevin Durgin. Now, this got reported because somebody messed up the report over on another website, and I will not give their name, but it was in fact a lie. The idea being that Batista was supposed to compete in the To Wake Cup with R-Truth and Eric Rowan, and no, that's not happening. Somebody got a report very wrong.
Thank you for smashing that out here. So fire after questions here. If you're with us live, let us know what you guys think here. This one's crazy. Why is AEW Dark, with those stars having a lack of use on Dynamite, accepted, while WWE Main Event is not accepted?
I will tell you why, Russell Haydix. Because AEW utilizes their dark programming to get their roster of maybe 30 individuals more exposed. WWE has 7 hours of first run content and then an additional 2 hours of niche content like 205 Live in NXT UK and then main event. And then it is so clear that this is not a priority. But by all means, listen, if you want to watch Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins take on, I don't know, whoever on main event, it's there for you. It's on Hulu. It's on the network every Friday. Do the thing. Matt Pessold, no, we will not go to Uranus.
We don't know you like that, dude.
And then you just listen. You work with the comedian. He gives you the easy flies over the head.
You catch that one? Did you catch that one?
I did.
All right, here's our next question. Eric Big Grizz Billups wants to know, hey guys, do you guys see us starting to see NXT matches on all the pay-per-views at some point?
No, God, I hope not.
All right, so we're getting a WrestleMania match with the NXT Women's Championship defended by Rhea Ripley against Charlotte. Charlotte won the Royal Rumble. This has been teased for a couple of weeks now, and it's official. Charlotte attacking Rhea at the TakeOver pay-per-view. I think this was bound to happen. I don't mind it now and then. I think on the shows where you brag about having all the superstars of every brand, even though that's every show anyway, on every pay-per-view, Survivor Series next year, I could see something there too. Because that was so much fun this past November. I think NXT being added to that was a fresh take. I'm not against it. In spots, you're against it. Why are you against it?
Because NXT has its own vibe.
Okay.
Sometimes there's beautiful coming together moments, right? Run DMC and Aerosmith, Walk This Way. Great. Anthrax and Bring the Noise, Public Enemy. Great. But you know what you get then? Then you've got like Limp Bizkit. And now it's just a genre. And now it's not special. And now it's watered down. And I don't want to see NXT get watered down. I don't know why I went through that analogy to get to that. But I don't want to see NXT get watered down.
Robert, I believe you can take that argument and you can stick it up your cookie. Stick it up your cookie, yeah. Okay, there's a deep reference to...
That is a deep reference. Hey, listen, it's WrestleMania season. Limp Bizkit is hot again. I happen to like Limp Bizkit, but I can understand that it is a watered-down form of music. And I don't want to see...
Robert, the thing is, I'm a crack addict.
Oh,
I'm addicted to breaking necks. Yeah. I'm addicted to breaking necks. Yes, exactly. Let's get in more questions here. We broke this last week. Brian Casper wanting to follow. Kev, Robert, what do you think of AJ Styles versus Undertaker at WrestleMania? This was a WrestleZone exclusive. We went into deep detail about this, but the first seeds have been planted this past week on Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles returned from a shoulder injury he suffered at the Royal Rumble. Was in action, and he said he is the new Mr. WrestleMania. He said he's better than Shawn Michaels, and then he dropped the name The Undertaker. So it's there. You can run on that narrative. He is in the upcoming Super Showdown show in that gauntlet match with several different superstars. My prediction is he wins it. And that sets him up to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania in Tampa Bay. You and I are going live.
At this point, hold on. Yes, we're going live, and it would be a special moment to see.
Yes.
At this point, how do you retire The Undertaker? Because we've long since passed, when the streak dies, he'll die. And he did this cool thing with Roman, and then he put his gear in the ring. That was cool. We're past all of that. How do you move that character into the great beyond?
He doesn't die. He walks into the light, Robert.
But he's done that about 20 times on television already.
I don't know. I mean, we already thought he was done in Orlando years ago.
My issue is, or my concern rather, it's a law of diminishing returns. There's only so much you can do before you're just all right, I'm glad you're still able to wrestle, but it's not the same, and I don't feel it anymore. What do we do here?
AJ is the best to counter that. AJ is the best person to put him in that position in terms of.
But is AJ the last?
If AJ is the last, then so be it. I know some people, and then you have those who are purists that say, well, this shouldn't be the last match for The Undertaker.
It should be Sting. It's got to be Sting, damn it. I need to get my Sting match.
We've wanted the Sting match forever. Or it's got to be Shawn Michaels, or it's got to be Kane. There's no...
I'm sorry, what was that? Was that Kevin? It's got to be who?
Kane.
It's got to be who?
It's got to be Kane.
My God, that's got to be Kane.
So many references today. So many references. I think AJ and Undertaker could be something very, very special. And if this exceeds your expectations, then done. It was successful. I don't think The Undertaker needs to have these matches that are the best match ever. Because another thing is, think about this too. He was having those in 2013 into 2014. This was a guy who was very selective out of his matches for 5 or 7 years before people felt okay, this isn't the same guy anymore. But look what he's endured. Look how many injuries he's had. Look how many injuries he hasn't had surgery on because he wants to have more matches and just wants to have these big moments. Look how much he's done. I think people forget that very, very quickly. And I'm sure The Undertaker is a character that shouldn't work, but has worked so good for so long.
The Undertaker was one loss shy of becoming the Shockmaster, the Warlord, Earthquake, and an outdated, faulty gimmick. And this is a lesson who, if you enjoy the deep dives in the history of wrestling, I think you'll like this. Undertaker doesn't beat Hulk Hogan in 1991. He's nothing. Undertaker beat Hulk Hogan. Therefore, he was evergreen. You can do whatever you could throw him against Giant Gonzalez with chloroform, but it's cool because he beat a Hogan and he's a legit dude. And that has carried him for the last 30 years. And that is a lesson. That is what separates Undertaker from Mordecai, Kevin Thorne, Boogeyman. You can do the dark gimmick.
Let me tell you, Taker, brother, you owe me a receipt. All right, I gave you one. You got to give me one back.
Listen, and he did give it to him back.
I went to Macho Man.
You did go into a Macho Man. That's why I was a little confused. But he did give it to him back, but it already didn't matter because he was made. I think it's important to let the younger guys get one over on the older ones, and that is what I hope to see happen should AJ Styles wrestle The Undertaker at WrestleMania 36.
All right. I like this one. Herman Takar, what do you guys feel about WWE not doing scripted promos? Well, it's hard to say, I think, sometimes when you see a promo and it doesn't feel scripted, or at least it feels bullet pointed, and then other promos feel very heavily scripted. I know some fans are very much against them. They just want to see the wrestler go out there with the story and tell it, right? I'm of the nature that I think you can do both, depending on who the performer is and what they feel comfortable with.
AJ Styles needs scripted promos. Mick Foley does not.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho does not.
Yeah.
I would say Kip Sabian might benefit.
I'll tell you someone who's great at it and does a good job with it and has been better at it, especially recently than in the past, is Seth Rollins. I can tell you from working on scripted stuff, I've written things for the stage, right? The beats are there. Like he has beats and he's delivering his beats. If you don't know it's scripted and it is, then what's the problem?
That's my concern, is that I think people are obsessed with the knowledge that it is scripted. Because otherwise, would you really care? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they were scripting Bret Hart in 97. You don't know.
They probably were. Yeah. You know what I mean? They probably were. It was probably lightly scripted. And so like, here the
Rock is a heavily scripted dude. I don't care what you say.
Jokes written for him. He had jokes written for him.
The Rock's a heavily scripted dude. He's so heavily scripted that Brian Gewirtz is the head of his production company because that's how heavily scripted Brian Gewirtz.
And Brian Gewirtz was one of the head writers for WWE for a long time. He was featured in the Ruthless Aggression documentary.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's good. It's really good. It's the first one. It's probably the best non-wrestling thing right now on the network that just popped up. It's a series, just like they did the Monday Night Wars series. They're going to do one all about ruthless aggression, about that area after the Monday Night Wars. I watched the first one. I really enjoyed it. I do think they do a rewrite of history like they do on some of these things. They talk about them changing the name from WWF to WWE and not mentioning the World Wildlife Federation at all, which is odd because that was the legal reason why they did that. But they do treat that as that was a part of us trying to make this change.
Narrative. We control the narrative. History is written by the winners, folks.
We make movies. We make movies here.
We make movies. Damn it.
We make movies.
I really, this scripted promos thing, certain guys need it. I understand that you think, let the wrestlers be wrestlers, but not everybody can. Maybe you work better with the script. I can't even script a single line. I need to be off the brain, off the cuff. That's how I work better. Different strokes, different folks.
People have been asking, faithful viewers want to know about this. A few last week, you and I talked about whether or not Hulk Hogan, the patron saint of the panhandle of Florida, Hulk Hogan, the leader of Hulkamania, at his extended age with his many surgeries and his many injuries, will he make an appearance in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and will he win the Battle Royal? I have contended that no, that will not happen, though I would love to see it happen. All right. Now, Robert, you and I said that we would set some type of bet. You, Robert, are set on this concept of him doing this.
We have not set a bet. When a bet is set, you will know best. And let me tell you, I don't know. I got a feeling, Kevin. I have a feeling.
What's that feeling, brother?
In my heart that pumps the blood to these veins. Kevin, I understand things that maybe Anna Williams doesn't understand.
What do you understand,
maybe
Robert?
James Esfanto Fernando doesn't understand it.
Tell him.
But brother, I know.
I'm giving you a solo. I'm giving you a solo screen
this
here.
Is where the power lies. Here, right here, in the hand of Hulkamania. The hand that pumps the blood through the vein.
You did the blood pump into the veins thing twice.
Kevin, Hulk Hogan is a very vascular man. There are many blood cells and blood vessels being charged by the absolute electricity and non-fossil fuel energy that is Hulkamania. Kevin, Daniel Bryan can power his greenhouse through the power of Hulkamania.
Yes.
Vince McMahon can light those 16 production trucks through the power of Hulkamania. And this is where it lies. It lies in the palm of Hulk Hogan. And I'm telling you that without taking a single bump, he is going to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So what are you going to do, Eric Rowan, when he finds out what's in that cage? Because he's also powered by...
Did you just call me Eric Rowan, dude?
That is a compliment for you. Eric Rowan is a member of Mensa. You will accept that IQ.
This is where the power lies. This is where the power lies.
Actually, judging by the follicle count, I think this is where the power lies for you, bud.
We will set something up before WrestleMania. Don't worry. I enjoy the goofiness that this took, though. I did get asked this question, another show-related question here. Are we ever going to set a time for the show? We were doing 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. There's a reason why we never have a set time for the show. We just kind of say late afternoon. Getting this studio is never guaranteed. Okay, so I do this through my work with 101 WKQX here, and they're gracious enough to give me a studio multiple days a week, which is not always available. Also, we have other jobs. Robert works for WrestleZone and is on news desk. Sometimes we have late news coming in, and we kind of need to get that up on the website before we can go and do the show. So that's part of it. But we're going to try and do more of that, especially during like the heavy time of the year with like Super Showdown. I think we'll have a live show after that, and we'll try and be better about that. I agree, but the best thing I can tell you is make sure you follow us on Twitter, because we always post links and we always say when we're going to be up there and all that good stuff. So keep it up there as well. Robert, you got another question on here you want to do?
You know what, Kevin? Brian Casper is asking us, who gave us RBD's stash? Now, first of all, we're in different parts of the country, so that doesn't even work that way, bro. But that darn Dusty Cop getting suspended for 30 days, not passing that wellness policy. I hear it was just reeking and smoke was being shown. Shame on you, Dusty Cop. Be better.
I thought that was a funny bit on NXT this week. Yeah. Let's get in here. More questions. Like this one, Bob Coaster. What is Bayley doing at WrestleMania? She's a SmackDown Women's Champion. It seems like she is set to have a match with Carmella coming up here in a little bit. But what is she going to do at WrestleMania? I would say the bloom is off the rose in terms of Bayley as a heel. I don't think it's as over as it was when she made that big turn and chopped down the floating, wavy, wacky, inflatable arm tube guy.
Wacky, inflatable arm floating tube man.
And she immediately pulled out the side ponytail, which to me was the biggest maneuver. It was the biggest turn, is when she went no side pony and just flipped her hair into the official haircut of everyone who wants to complain about their kids not getting.
She became Karen. And like, here's the thing. She became about as boring as her haircut would suggest in terms of her character. She did a 180 from being a character with all of the flavor to none of the flavor. But what do I think Bayley does? I think she feels the glow. Rumor has it from PWI that WWE has reached out to Cameron and have reached out to Brodus Clay about being at WrestleMania. Naomi is hot right now. She came into that Royal Rumble and people were just living for that hair, for the outfit.
Seen her in a long time. You know, we hadn't seen her about six. Right,
but I know what it is for the fans. I'm talking about the never seen it. The people who don't even watch wrestling, who saw action shots of Naomi and said, I have to know who this girl is. And now it sounds like if they don't rush it at Showdown, and God, I hope they don't, it might be Bayley and Naomi. If they do, then I think it's Bayley Sasha.
There's something there. Something there for sure. I'm scrolling up here just trying to
hold on. Somebody's telling us that we need to tell the other portions of our life that this show comes first and needs to be the first priority in our lives.
Number one priority. Number one. But yes, I want to make sure I missed this question here. People want to know, do we have any news about Kevin Cross, Killer Cross? He is signed to WWE. He has been at the Performance Center for quite some time. We know that his real-life girlfriend, Scarlett Bordeaux, you may remember from Impact Wrestling, of course, him from Impact Wrestling as well, has been under the banner of WWE for quite some time. So what do we expect from him? I think you see him before WrestleMania.
I don't.
You don't think you think we see him right after, huh?
I think if we were going to see him before Mania, we would have seen him at TakeOver.
There's plenty of time to get there, though.
He's going to be either at Tampa or at the show following TakeOver Tampa.
I could see that too. That's a fair thing here. More questions coming in.
Well, what do you say we do one more, but it's got to be a damn good question.
Got to be a good one here.
We got to end it on a high note. We can't end it on a fart.
I'm trying to find a doozy. I'm trying to find a doozy here. I want to find a real hard question to jump into here, and I don't want to just go with a light one here. I'm scrolling through. This is live and real deal.
You know, okay, here's one. I got one.
Okay.
Tawab Ahmed asks, which match sounds more interesting? The Fiend versus The Undertaker, Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, or Roman Reigns versus The Fiend? Now, contextually, we know that WrestleVotes had tweeted out about a week ago.
And we're talking WrestleMania here. We're talking WrestleMania in Tampa, correct?
Presumably, yes.
Okay.
Because we know WrestleVotes had tweeted out, the word is Fiend, Roman, Goldberg, Cena. Mix and match those four individuals, and that's the WrestleMania plan.
For the Universal title.
For at least two of them.
Okay.
You know, if you throw The Undertaker into that mix, what do I think about The Fiend and The Undertaker? I think that is one bridge Bray Wyatt has burned through too many times. I don't want to see it. Between Roman and The Fiend and Goldberg and The Fiend.
It lends itself to fun TV stuff. It lends itself to a lot of like gaga and segments that you can produce on television that look really cool.
I just think we've seen it. Because I think Wyatt had two cracks at The Undertaker and didn't get the job done twice.
But a lot of people believe in The Fiend a lot more than they did Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, it's up in the air. But as far as Roman versus Goldberg or Roman versus The Fiend, I think there's a lot of money in Roman versus The Fiend. But I think that there is a weird magic in Roman versus Goldberg.
That's been a growing thing. So we're getting Goldberg versus The Fiend for sure, confirmed, announced on SmackDown, angles cut, it's happening. And that goes down at Super Showdown, and he challenges for the Universal Championship on the loose premise that he never got a rematch. So you have that. What is that match going to be? The thing about Goldberg that I think a lot of people are reserved to the idea is that he'll go out, he'll have these explosive matches, but they may not be great matches. They'll more just be like wild segments than they are just like a great bell-to-bell match. So there's some reservation about that. And there's some reservation about whether or not Bray Wyatt can exist beyond just being this wild, over-the-top character, correct? But I think the pairing with Goldberg and him is going to be surprising to a lot of people at Super Showdown. I have good expectations. I think you have a motivated Goldberg who is coming off of that disastrous match with The Undertaker and did the match with Dolph Ziggler purely to wipe the slate clean. And I think he wants to go back, make that big money, and deliver something like a moment, even if he's losing with The Fiend here. But there's been a lot of rumblings that when Goldberg comes back, business goes up. Goldberg attracts a casual viewer. People know him. They're fond of him. They like him. Okay.
Is it weird that Goldberg still attracts a casual viewer? Like, do people get excited to see Schwarzenegger? Do Schwarzenegger movies still perform?
No, but I mean, like, people love Arnold, right? So in wrestling, familiarity is a good thing. All right. So it is a good thing, even though some people want to go, oh, they keep going with the old stars and it makes me mad.
I'm asking, like, I'm not even being funny. I'm asking a legitimate question.
Sure.
Did the Rambo reboot, the last Rambo movie,
did not do it?
It's weird to me that
I want to see it. Yeah, I want to see it because John Rambo loves his country and wants to fight the Mexican cartel.
But I think it's weird that like Goldberg draws in casuals, because how can you want to see an old man?
That segment with The Fiend and Goldberg on SmackDown did very well. They teased it, and the quarter hour that it was on did very, very well. And it was probably the most watched wrestling television segment that week. So there's something to be said for that. And also, we know when he came back a few years ago and had that whole angle leading to WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, they saw a significant bump up across the board, and he moved the needle. So you could say they've put all this time and energy into The Fiend and a lot of television, and have reserved when they put him on TV, and have utilized him only on live events, right? And have treated him as this precious commodity, which he is. He is that to a lot of fans. But is there more money in Roman Reigns, who is the over the aisle of wrestling from us, the hardcore fans? He is a casual, beloved wrestler. Kids love him. Women love him. They like themselves. Some of that long, looking like Jason Momoa, Roman Reigns, right? Him versus Goldberg. Two big wrestlers, two big generations. There is a marquee appeal to that. And then you put a title in the middle. Something there. And
here's the thing about that is, to get there, we have to go through.
You got to get the title off.
We got to get the Goldberg and the Fiend, which is like, sometimes things don't mesh, and both of those guys exist on the premise of not selling. And I just don't know of a way that match can exist in a healthy, like, oh, that was actually fun, I want to watch it again kind of way.
I think Goldberg does something at WrestleMania. If it's for the title, I don't know. If he comes up short and has a valiant match against The Fiend in the later stages of his career, and The Fiend cuts him off, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be upset that Daniel Bryan lost to The Fiend at the Royal Rumble and still gets featured in some way at WrestleMania, right?
Who's to say that John Cena just doesn't beat The Fiend at Elimination Chamber? I mean, like, we're forgetting that
balls.
That, like, February 28th, John Cena's on SmackDown. So he's there. He's in it for the ride, because you don't come back this close to WrestleMania on SmackDown, no less.
You know what? Then that does allow you to do some things. So if it works out this way, all right, if they have The Fiend get past Goldberg, but people are like, hey, Goldberg, you really did something special. We still want to see you come back. I want to see you come back. My name's Roman Reigns, and I want to match with you at WrestleMania. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
I want to prove something, There's something there. And then if John Cena comes back and says, I want to break Ric Flair's record.
There's money there.
There's money. I want to break Ric Flair's record and beat The Fiend, beat the monster, and prove I can still do it.
Listen, if I had my way, John Cena beats the Fiend and we get Roman and Goldberg no title. But
Yeah. I think could you do Roman and Goldberg no title and still get the draw that you want out of it?
Yeah, the draw is Roman and Goldberg. The draw there is not the belt.
Not
the draw with John Cena is the belt.
Yeah, you're right. So you're right. I agree. If you do Cena versus Fiend, you do Roman versus Goldberg, you have AJ versus Undertaker, you do some cool stuff with Daniel Bryan. Maybe you have Daniel Bryan win the Andre the Giant.
Daniel Bryan Nakamura IC title. Nakamura's getting that belt back.
How? You know, and then what do you do with Braun? So there's a lot of different things. We'll save it for Monday. We've gone into the minutia. We've gone into the deep weeds here, baby.
Yeah, you got like an hour and a half show today, guys, and I think you should be happy.
You got plenty.
You should be darn happy.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. We've been doing this a while here. All right. So if you're enjoying the show, thank you so much for supporting. All right. If you're here for the first time, thank you, man. I want to know your name. I want to know where you're from. We have this little clubhouse of people. We want you in the clubhouse. We want to be a big clubhouse. Okay. We want you out right here on a virtual couch. Okay. I think that's our next t-shirt is a virtual couch t-shirt. Is us like
I can see it happen.
Is us like floating on
a VR couch, like
like a virtual couch. Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. I would dig that. That'd be cool. If you enjoyed the show, give it a like, share it. If you're watching us on YouTube, give it a like and subscribe to the page. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We'll be back on Monday, right before Monday Night Raw in the late afternoon. Keep your notifications on to know exactly when we go live, or just subscribe to the podcast. WrestleZone Radio. Enjoy it anywhere you want, whenever you want. I'll be on the Comedy Road this weekend in Joliet, Illinois at the Drunken Donut Shocks and Giggles. I'll be headlining that show March 20th and March 21st in Valparaiso, Indiana. I'll be at the Cut Up Steakhouse. You can check me out there. I'll be doing headlining sets. Robert,
have you given any thought to being paid by steak yet?
I think a steak is mandatory. Mandatory.com, parent company.
We'll talk about it. Maybe I'll give you the cash if you give me the steak.
You want a steak from Valparaiso? You want to?
I would like a steak from Valparaiso.
Yeah, the region. That's what they call Northwest Indiana. The region. That's the name they've decided upon.
I want a steak from the region. But if you want to help me along and getting those steaks, follow me on Twitter. You know, I'm a good follow. Sean Rossap said I was a good follow, so that must mean it's true. I don't know. I'm at Dude Felice. I mentioned Sean already. You can follow Fightful.com. That's where I'll be for the rest of the weekend. And Kevin, there's one thing we have to do. Put aside the minutia.
Okay, put it aside.
Put it aside.
Don't care about the rating.
Put on a happy face. Do one thing.
Tell me about it.
Enjoy wrestling.
That's right.